Thank you, Lisa, and thank you all for joining us today. I'm Keith Sutton, Chair of the Wake County Board of Education. We are excited today to share plans that allow high schools to host both virtual and in-person graduation ceremonies next month. We will also offer an update on our food distribution efforts, provide information about 2020-2021 school calendars, and discuss the formation of a community work group focused on reopening and operating our schools in 2020-2021. I'll ask Superintendent Kathy Moore to get us started. Superintendent Moore.
Thank you, Chair Sutton, and good morning. I have mentioned our hashtag WCPSS Hero campaign several times. So this morning, I thought I'd begin by sharing the story of a recent honoree who is representative of the selflessness and commitment shown by our staff members since this pandemic closed our school buildings 2 months ago. Jennifer Papalardo is a social worker serving Lynn Road and Jeffries Grove elementary schools. She has gone to great lengths to assure the physical and emotional well-being of her families, particularly those who find themselves in unstable living situations. She has regularly delivered food to families living in hotels and has also taken social work shifts at the emergency department at Wake Med, even as she cares for her own 2 young children. The colleague who nominated her wrote, "Ms. Papalardo does all of this matter-of-factly and expects no praise. She is a social worker at heart and simply does what is necessary to help others." Social workers like Ms. Papalardo help remove barriers to student learning by ensuring families and students have their basic needs met, a difficult yet essential challenge during school closure. During this time, school social workers have connected families to community resources, volunteered to deliver food to families in transition, and worked tirelessly to locate hard-to-reach students. I think Ms. Papalardo said it best when asked about her work. "I'm always amazed that, even in the ugliest situations, there is beauty to be found in the way humans help each other and in the strength parents can muster for their children. I'm truly inspired by the dedication and energy demonstrated daily by staff members like Ms. Papalardo. We can't thank them enough for everything they are doing to help our students and families weather this crisis." I'd like to touch briefly on calendars for the 2020-2021 school year. For several weeks, a group made up of administrative staff, principals, have been working on proposed calendars for all schools in 2020-2021. As I've said several times in the past month, we know schools will operate differently next year, and that likely will include calendars. The state legislature is requiring traditional calendar schools to start on August 17th and end by June 11th. Year-round calendar, modified calendar, and early college and restart schools were exempt from those start dates. On Tuesday, we will be presenting the school board with some proposed calendars for all schools. While there are multiple ways to create a school calendar, the staff recommendations for 2020-2021 will be determined by the guidance of state health officials and the new calendar law approved by legislators. The calendars must also be flexible enough to accommodate future health emergencies, given the uncertainties surrounding COVID-19 in the coming weeks and months. We understand that parents and students are anxious to receive these details, and once again, we are grateful for their patience as we work through the countless changes created by this pandemic. The most obvious change, of course, has been the switch to remote learning, which, as I just said, could also play an important role in the 2020-2021 school year. To that end, the school system sent a survey to all parents and teachers on Tuesday, asking for their feedback about the remote learning experience. We have already seen a tremendous response, with nearly 14,000 surveys completed. We will use survey data as well as feedback and suggestions provided directly to our teachers and principals to assess what's working and what needs improvement. Parents and teachers have until Wednesday, May 20th to submit their survey response, and I encourage everyone to do so. In closing, I want to share a message that I delivered to our principals earlier this week. I realize this unprecedented event has been a challenge for everyone, students, parents, and staff alike. But I reminded our principals that as we near this year's finish line, we all need to continue to pull together and finish strong. While we continue to extend grace and flexibility to our students and families, I want to encourage everyone to do what they can to ensure meaningful learning happens every day. The more engaged students can stay now, the easier it will be to transition back to classroom instruction. Plus, because we know that remote learning is going to be a key part of our next school year, developing good remote learning habits will benefit students and their families now and moving forward. Beyond academics, we need principals and teachers to keep nurturing the connections that we have made in these past 2 months to keep their school communities intact. This is not only important to make the most of the current school year, but also to set the stage for next school year. More than anything, we want our students and families to be excited about returning next year. Maintaining personal connections and keeping students sharp will put us on a solid footing when the day finally arrives that we are once again growing and learning together in one physical place called school. With that, I will turn it over to Chair Sutton.
Thank you, Superintendent Moore. As we often do, I'd like to start by recognizing the tremendous work of our child nutrition staff and bus drivers as they continue to serve our students and families day in and day out. We're operating 59 food distribution sites throughout the county, serving hot lunches and breakfast items, including our big bus food trucks, which are delivering food to 19 neighborhood locations. This week, our staff served nearly 117,000 meals, averaging more than 23,400 meals every single day. Since our school buildings closed in mid-March, we've served more than 900,000 meals to ensure our children continue to have healthy food to eat. Again, I want to commend and personally thank our child nutrition staff and bus drivers for doing this important work. In order to give them a much needed break, our food distribution services will be closed in observance of Memorial Day on Monday, May 25th. To help families prepare for the closure, we will distribute extra food next Friday, May 22nd, and most weekend food service sites will still operate on a normal schedule Memorial Day weekend. As always, you can find our food distribution locations, dates, and times at wcpss.net/food. As Superintendent Moore mentioned in her comments, work is already underway for the 2020-2021 school year. As part of that effort, I want to take this time to announce our intent to create a community work group that will assist us in the reopening and operation of our schools in 2020-2021. The initial purpose of this group, which will be made up primarily of community members, parents, and educators, will be to provide feedback on the many details still to be decided for the opening of schools. As we move past that first phase of the new academic year, I anticipate the work group will remain intact to provide recommendations and strategies for the Board of Education and Superintendent to consider on improving the delivery of instruction in Wake County in alignment with the evolving WCPSS strategic plan. Focus areas could include topics such as the future roles of online learning and of technology in general, possible changes to school board policy, lessons we have learned that can be applied to inclement weather days, and of course, how to ensure equity in all of our future operations. I will provide more details in the future and look forward to the insights and support this work group can provide as we take advantage of our current situation to reimagine an even stronger school district on the other side of this pandemic. I want to close my comments today by offering an update about graduations. We announced last week that we will not be able to hold traditional graduation ceremonies in June due to the current guidelines of state health officials. This was a heartbreaking decision, but our only choice given the public health concerns. Yet we believe that our seniors deserve the very best we can give them in honoring their accomplishments over the past 13 years. After listening to students and families, we have worked with schools to plan both in-person and virtual celebrations. Our high school principals met with academics team leaders earlier this week to craft a plan that has already been shared with seniors and their families. This plan was based on meetings that Superintendent Moore and I had with senior leaders and parents, along with many comments and suggestions shared with us via phone calls, emails, and social media. The plan allows each high school to host celebrations on their respective campuses. The dates and times will be determined by the school principal and shared with graduating seniors. All celebrations will be designed to comply with current safety guidelines. These events will allow students to keep some graduation traditions and to celebrate together with classmates, teachers, and principals. This will include an opportunity for students to receive their diploma from the principal, along with the opportunity for families to celebrate and take photos. In addition to the school-based celebrations, high schools will host online graduation ceremonies between June 8th and 13th. The virtual ceremonies will include the playing of pomp and circumstance, speeches from students and the principal, the calling of every senior's name, turning of tassels, and photos of the class of 2020 during the recessional. The virtual ceremonies will occur as close to the originally scheduled graduation dates and times as possible. Seniors and their parents should hear more from their principals by this afternoon. While we are working to do everything we can to honor the class of 2020, we know that we will never be able to replace all that our seniors have lost due to this unprecedented event. No matter how schools commemorate this significant life event, please remember that the legacy of the class of 2020 is so much more than crossing a stage or turning a tassel. This class will be remembered as a group of strong, intelligent, and bold young people who made the very best of one of the most difficult periods in the history of not only Wake County, but indeed the world. We will now take questions from the media. Please state your name and the news organization you represent.
It's Adam Owens with WRAL News. Just wanted to confirm that every high school will have that in-person graduation event that you were speaking of. Will that be the plan for every high school?
That is correct, that we anticipate every high school will have that event, but I'll let Superintendent Moore speak to that more with regard to details.
We've asked every high school to facilitate an in-person event that will allow a receiving a diploma while following the current health guidelines. So it won't look like a traditional graduation ceremony, but it will be an opportunity to maintain some traditions and to have a diploma experience.
And one quick follow-up with that, was there thought to maybe pushing graduation further back so it potentially could be more like it would look traditionally?
We did have that conversation with both the seniors and the parents that we talked to, and that, it was mixed. There were folks who thought it would be a really good idea to wait until later. We also had folks who felt like seniors would leave, go to college, go to the military, get a job, and some would miss out, and they would go their own way. And given the uncertainty of what health regulations will look like in the future, we wanted to make sure that we had something to offer our seniors in the original timeline.
Randy Ayala with CBS 17. I'm wondering, are these in-person celebrations, are they going to be drive-through style that we've been seeing some high schools doing already? Do you all have any idea of how these principals are going to decide to honor these seniors in person?
I'll start with that, Mr. Sutton. Our principals are really figuring that out with their students and their staff in their schools. There may be drive-through type options. There may be in other different types of options that are not drive-through. We're really leaving that up to the school principals to determine with their communities. Mr. Sutton, anything?
No, I don't have anything else to add.
Adam Owens with WREL News again. What is the message to year-round parents and students as week to week, the beginning of their school year could draw near? I know there's a lot of planning and groups that are being brought together. What is the message to those parents and students about what to expect, and do they need to just hold on?
So we are planning to bring some proposed calendar revisions to the board at the Tuesday work session. We know in particular that our multi-track year-round families are anxious about what planning looks like for the next school year. And we want to make sure that we have options that provide an opportunity to ensure that we're maintaining the health and safety of our students as a highest priority while planning for a meaningful school year. So we will have those calendar revision options presented to the board next Tuesday. And we invite our families to tune in and listen to that conversation. Mr. Sutton.
Don't have anything else to add other than the board, as Superintendent Moore said, the board will be receiving that information on Tuesday, and we look forward to hearing more about that.
Correll Sampson with Spectrum News. Mr. Owens asked my question about year-round schools, but I have a further down the line, band camps for the summer in athletics this summer. Is there any plans on what students should expect looking forward to the fall as far as those athletic programs go?
I can start with that, Mr. Sutton. So we've been having discussions about what that might look like, all summer activities, quite frankly. And we are still waiting and hoping that there will be some guidance from the Department of Health and Human Services at the state level that will provide us opportunities to really determine how and if those can be held within safety guidelines. So we're having to ask for patience here as well. And hopefully we'll have some information within the next few weeks so that if we can operate any of those functions in the summer safely, and there are ways to do that, we hope that we will certainly be able to consider and do that. Do you have anything else, Mr. Sutton?
Nothing else to add. I think you covered it.
Kern Hughes from the News and Observer. When do you envision those in-person celebrations being held at the schools, and when will the specifics about where and when it'll be held, when will that be announced to the public?
So I believe that Mr. Sutton mentioned in his remarks that all of the principals should be sending something to their families today sometime with some more detail. I'm not sure if they've worked out final details about when and how, but families should expect to hear something directly from their school.
And I'll just add, we've got some tremendous staff at all of our schools, principals, and quite frankly, counselors, graduation advisors are really excited about planning some of these events, and they've already had some plans, I believe, up their sleeve, and just ready and waiting to implement. So again, that message will be coming from those principals, and we expect that those will be happening again between, I would say, mid-June and late June. Is that what you would say, Superintendent Moore?
I think it'll vary. They may actually try to pull some things off earlier than that, but it's really up to each school.
Corell Sampson at Spectrum News again. Kind of the counselors and teachers are kind of the front lines of student safety, mental health, child abuse, where they discover child abuse. Is there a hotline? And I apologize if this has already been discussed. Is there a hotline or a number that students can reach out to faculty and staff if they have problems at home that they just can't get to right now?
Hi there. So we do operate a 24-hour hotline that students or families or staff or anyone can call. We can get that information out if you feel it, we can feel it if it's important to publicize that again. And we do, through the remote learning process, ask our teachers when students are not engaging or they see something to also notify our counseling and student support services staff so that they can follow up individually as well.
Do we have any last questions?
Actually, this will be for the superintendent. I know Chairman Sutton mentioned about what he's envisioning the that community work group will be doing. Could you talk about what you're hoping that group will be able to provide for reopening plans?
Sure. So Chair Sutton and I have discussed this a couple of times. There are a lot of decision points and as well as uncertainty about what the beginning of this next school year can look like. And so we thought that it would be important to, as staff is planning on different options, for us to have an opportunity to connect with board members and stakeholder groups or parents as at sort of a community advisory level about what those plans are, so that we can have broader messaging, broader support, and alignment around what school will look like when we open. So we think it's a really good opportunity. And additionally, as Mr. Sutton mentioned, this group can also support the work that the district is already doing towards revising our strategic plan, which, as you know, expires in 2020, and we're looking at new ways to update that and include relevant information. And certainly this pandemic has allowed us to learn some things that will inform our planning for years to come.